Hello and welcome to Fraggle Talk Classic, the unofficial Fraggle Rock podcast brought to you by toughpigs.com. My name is Beth, and I am rewatching for the millionth time.
My name is Julia, and I'm rewatching for the first time in 10 years.
My name is Adam, and I'm watching 5 the first time, because that's one more than 4 the first time.
Oh, jeez. You've done a variant on that one before, but not that exact one, so I can't call you on it.
I have done a variant. I slept so much over the Thanksgiving break and gave myself permission to grab the low-hanging fruit on this one.
Excellent.
Speaking of segues, we have a guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I would love to introduce myself. I'm
Well,
Jared.
that's too bad. You can't. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm Jared, and I guess I run toughpigs.com, and I are going to have a very serious talk about his employment after that joke.
Ooh, busted.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay. As long as you think my real name is actually I can keep skating.
Oh, all right. Well, we're going to have a real serious talk with HR now.
Wait, should I edit that out to keep your online presence a dark void?
Okay, honestly, just put a censor beep over it. It'll be funny.
Can do. Thank you so much for joining us, Jared.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited. I have watched Fraggle Rock a lot, but I haven't got a funny little quip like you all did.
That is okay. Funny quips are optional.
Yep.
All right. Excellent. That's how I run my entire life.
Perfect. So today we are talking about episode 23 of season 1, The Beast of Blue Rock. It originally aired on June 13th, 1983, written by Sugith Varghese and directed by George Bloomfield. This is the first episode that we've gotten that's written by Sugith Varghese, and apparently he wrote, I think, like 10 episodes, so we're going to see more of him to come, and some really excellent ones.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can I just say, did anybody else see the pattern on Doc's pot and immediately have a flashback to being a child and seeing your parents' ceramics?
No,
my parents didn't have that.
What was on Doc's pot?
It was that, like, classic, like, there's, like, little sort of loopy flowers. It's, like, green. It's got, like, an emblazoned pattern. A bunch of ceramics. Literally, at the Thanksgiving table I was at, somebody brought their mom's ceramic that they had inherited, and it had that same pattern as the side of Doc's pot on
I
it.
don't know if I noticed it, but from your description, it's probably, if I had, it probably would make me think of my grandma's house.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'll bet my grandmother had it.
I just had a look at it, and it's exactly what you're imagining.
Yep. But Sprocket is sick, and Doc is actually being a halfway decent dog owner for once.
Yeah.
Doc is very good in this episode as a dog owner. He genuinely seems worried about Sprocket. He makes chicken noodle soup for Sprocket, but like modifies it so it's good for dogs, and he calls it dog food gumbo. I felt good about Doc as a dog owner this entire episode for a change.
Yes. I did question his methods a little later on when it came to talking about Sprocket facing his fears, but when it comes to just, taking care of a sick friend, this was a pretty good episode.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the Doc and Sprocket bit.
Well, can I just, quickly
Yeah.
ask? So, Sprocket's wearing, at least at the start, he's got, like, I guess, is it like a hot water bottle thing on top of his head?
It's a hot water bottle, like, tied up with, like, a scarf, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I see that a lot in, like, American pop culture sort of things, like when people are sick, especially in the older days. Was that something that actually existed? Because I've never seen those. That's not an Australian thing. I've never seen those. Our hot water bottles don't look anything like that.
I genuinely don't know. I would have assumed that it was an either or, like you could use it as either a hot pack or a cold pack.
Mm-hmm.
And considering that Sprocket is running a fever, I would guess that in this instance it's probably a cold pack. But who knows? He might have the chills at the moment and want something warm.
I was not alive during the 50s and 60s, but this comes up a lot in content during that. And I think it was just one of those things that they did as a way to be like, this is a visual signifier that this character is very sick.
Right.
It's easy to get that story across.
It's certainly not something that we do these days. Like his whatever, either cold pack or hot water bottle, like that looked like the hot water bottle we had at my house growing up, but we didn't tie it to our heads. We would usually use it to like warm a bed if we were sick or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's answered many questions I've had about American pop culture for 34 years, and we can probably wrap this up now.
Fantastic. I'm so glad we could be helpful. Just
I appreciate
really, really happy.
Take that one off.
We're still good. I can keep working here. It'll be fine. We'll be good on that.
Look, we'll have a chat about it, but at the moment you're on thin ice.
Thank you. Well, I'll make sure I use the ice pack instead of the hot water bottle then.
All right. Just for that, you're fired.
Oh,
fair, completely
man,
fair.
you're gonna get fired a lot if it happens every time.
I'm gonna get so fired. I'm gonna be like double and triple fired.
But I'm just going to keep rehiring you just so I can fire you.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be fired so many times you can sell me at a fancy furniture store for a lot of money.
Oh, jeez. That one took me a second.
Yeah, I'll rehire you for that joke. That was pretty good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we open with Wembley being really excited that he wants to tell Gobo something, and we get that same really sweet, like, him starting up back a little bit farther from the camera and moving forward because he's in front of the tunnel on a green screen. And then also when he moves to the right of the screen, the tunnel in the green screen kind of shifts too, and it's just this, again, it's those little details about building this organic space that are so meticulously crafted. And then we've talked a lot about how the Gobo and Red dialogue is evolving really well, and the Boober Wembley dialogue is evolving really well. This is the first time that I've seen the, like, Gobo Wembley dialogue, and I'm just like, yes, oh, that's really good.
Yeah, the scene feels really organic and really familiar.
Yeah.
With just, like, a level of miscommunication that's not, you know, it's not catastrophic to their relationship. It's not deeply insulting. You know, it's not fight-inducing, at least not yet. At this point, it's still very mild. It just feels just a little off.
Yeah. It feels like Wembley's being kind of goofy, but I think he's not doing it on purpose. But this is exactly the kind of thing that I would do as a bit. Because he's like, guess what? And Gobo's like, what? And Wembley's like, no, you have to guess. And Gobo says, well, I don't want to guess. And Wembley goes, oh, well, I'll come back when you do.
Right, exactly.
It feels a little how I relate to, like, I've got a 12-year-old niece who I love dearly, but can sometimes just be a little bit of a pain in the neck.
Oh, yes.
And you love them, and you want to have a chat with them, but also you're like, I haven't really got a lot of time for your nonsense at the moment. So that's how that relationship feels a lot of the time anyway, but especially in this scene.
My favorite trick for that as a teacher is you have to out-nonsense the nonsense. So if they say, guess what? And you say, what? And they say, no guess. I just start guessing the most random, outlandish things. Like, oh my god, you've adopted a family of badgers, but they've staged a revolution. And then just start spitting those. And then when they're like, no, I want to tell you, I go, hey, I'm not done guessing. And then I say like 3 more things. And then I go, okay, now you can tell me.
I like that. What my niece got into really for a while was going, like, guess what I've got? And then I would just go into the spiel the Cookie Monster gives Kermit when he's asking what's in the box.
Classic.
It's a horse, it's a cow, it's a moose, it's a rump roast. And then they just, in the end, like, she would start, and almost as she's saying it, she'd be like, oh, I shouldn't have done this. And
I know the spiel.
Go at her. Yeah.
And that's great. You're being a wonderful uncle because you're also teaching her pattern recognition and authority figures.
Exactly right.
I also think it's fascinating because Gobo is like, oh, well, you've already interrupted me. You might as well tell me. And Wembley's like, oh, you were reading. Gobo's like, yeah, I was reading about this. And Wembley goes, well, read it to me. And then me as a reader is like, well, are you going to tell us? Are you going to tell us what the thing was? I'm invested.
Yeah, we see a little bit of that, like, Wembley realizing, like, oh no, I interrupted this important thing you were doing, and then immediately pivots to, well, tell me about this important thing. I want to know about this thing that is important to you, and just genuinely forgets about the thing he had to tell. At least that's how I'm reading it.
I think that you're right, because, like, we do see a lot of him, especially in this episode, wimbling back and forth between decisions, but he almost just wimbles with everything in life, like focusing on something, and then just pivots so quickly of like, oh, this isn't important anymore. Let's talk about what you're focused on. You know, it's just his character in general.
I mean, Wembley confirmed bisexual or whatever, like, clearly. Decisions? Nah.
Yeah, we've already made that call on Wembley. But yeah, Gobo's reading about the Beast of Blue Rock from his Uncle Matt's book on the Beast. And it's interesting because from here we kind of go into a postcard from Matt, but the postcard is not shown to us, and it's not being read to us by Gobo. It's just kind of like segued into it and segued away, which I don't think we've ever really seen before, which was really interesting.
Yeah. Postcard is also kind of fun. He's seeing the silly creatures, and they have very rowdy, very noisy pets who are herbivores. I think he says herbivorous.
Yes.
And apparently very hungry. And then he gets chased by one, which I was so glad they didn't go for some slapstick, oh, run the puppet over with a weed whacker lawnmower thing, because I was very nervous about that.
That would kill Uncle Matt. They can't run him over with a lawnmower.
Yes, hence my nervousness.
I loved that 80s fashion. Those two guys
it's so good.
mowing that lawn just with knee-high socks.
Mm-hmm.
That is exactly what my dad looked like in like 1985.
White polo shirts, big 80s mustaches, the whole thing.
Shorts.
Yeah, it is awful.
One of them is wearing beige boat shoes over his long white socks.
Oh, yeah. I just love the grim determination he's mowing his lawn with, too. There's just this, like, well, I gotta do this. This look on his face of, like, yep, this is what we're doing. All right. Gotta do
That's
it.
because they were all on cocaine. Another thing I did notice during that, and this is just something I look for now, especially when I'm doing these sort of rewatch podcasts, you do see Dave Goelz. I'm guessing Dave Goelz. You do see his head for just a fraction.
Oh, I didn't spot that.
Oh, I missed that.
Just as I think he's that last shot as he's sort of running away, just slight little bump at top of the head.
Ha.
There it is.
Ooh, new thing to look
Which
for.
again is something that you wouldn't notice like back in the day, and especially on a terrible old VHS.
Yeah.
But now they weren't expecting me, eagle-eyed.
Fantastic. I also, there's a great little bit where Kobo's like, yeah, we have to go tomorrow. Or I guess, yeah, it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, it'll be great. Moki come with us. And he says, maybe she'll write a poem about us. And just something about hitting the second syllable in poem makes me laugh real hard.
There's also a little bit of like a Y sound to it, like poem.
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 Yeah.
Poem.
Sounds like a dude who's never heard a French accent trying to make fun of a French accent.
Yeah, so Gobo basically invites everyone else along, and Wembley's really excited about it temporarily until he gets as far as the hallway and realizes, oh, right, the thing that I had to tell you is now bad news. And he goes back repeating that same, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. But now he's not excited. He's dreading having to tell. This is now the second time that Gobo's impromptu plans have interrupted a swimming event that Red has planned for a really long time.
Right.
Wow. Yeah, no kidding.
This one feels a little less cruel because he has to go on a certain date and it just happens to coincide. Whereas before he was just like, well, I want to do what I want to do, Red. So growth, a little bit of, at least like it's less cruel than before. Yeah. And
I don't think we're in the positive yet, but I think we're less negative.
That's true. And, you know, in this one, at least Gobo seems resolved that he's, you know, going to go by himself if no one's going to go with him.
Which would, if it's an annual event, presumably the Doozer Equinox happens every year. We don't know what the Doozer Equinox is, but if it's anything like the equinoxes in our world, they happen once a year. So just go next year, Gobo.
Yeah, he could put it off. Yeah, they say that it's 2 days after the Doozer Equinox, and then it disappears for a whole year.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to me that one, there's like, they're marking time by the Doozer Equinox, which means there's more sort of holidays and sort of like almanac style milestones that you can mark time with in the year. And also, this is, I think, the first time we've seen like written histories or like written records being specifically written and then with the intent of them being added to by like following generations. Because there's that line where he says, I could not manage to find this, and I leave that to future generations to fill this out. And I'm paraphrasing that. Yeah. But I think that's the first time we've seen something along those lines. Usually, you know, we've got the Keeper of the Stories, we've got the world's oldest Fraggle, but this is the first time we've seen a book about it. Like a physical thing that you can write down and then hand to another person to have them add to it.
Yeah, and we've seen books before, but not necessarily books that are designed to be incomplete.
Yeah, cool piece of world building.
We then get this moment where Wembley can't decide if he wants to do the Splashathon or go with Gobo, and Gobo's kind of like forcing him to make a decision. And it's this strange moment where Wembley is just like, he's trying to think, and then I can't tell, does he just run into a wall or throw himself into a wall?
It's this wonderful little...
He seems to almost explode.
Yeah. So like... So Gobo's like, Wembley, you're driving me nuts. You can't do them both. And I wrote, sir, that is not Wembling. That is executive dysfunction. It is situation object impermanence, that he forgot about the existence of one thing when the other came up.
Very true, very real.
And so, yeah, Gobo's basically, like, forcing him to choose, and he's like, okay. And so he concentrates, he, like, closes his eyes, or he puts his hands over his eyes because Wembley doesn't have an eye-closing mechanism.
Yeah.
And he starts shaking, and then he just rockets backwards into the wall. I wrote down, wow, this episode is personally attacking me. That is what it feels like to try and make an impossible decision.
I just started putting padding on my walls.
That must be the reason, yeah. But I thought for a moment, I was like, this must happen again in the episode. Like, this must be part of what we're going to see. And it didn't happen again at all. So I was like, oh, okay.
I mean, Wembley gets yeeted again.
True.
That we'll get there.
He does, in a very different situation.
I really identified, though, with Gobo in this scene because, like, you may have spoken about this on a previous episode, I don't know, but have you guys got, like, friends and people in your life who just can't make a decision?
No, that's me.
And it just drives you absolutely nuts?
We're those people in other people's
Yes.
lives.
Oh, are you?
Yep.
Oh, we're
Yes.
going to have some words.
Good. Bring it.
I'm both. I have been both. I really, like, relate to both Gobo and Wembley. You know, I've been in that circumstance where I can't make a decision between things that I really want to do because they're both equally important to me. But I've also been Gobo, where I've had friends like really Wembling, and it's frustrating to be in those shoes where you're like, you have to make a decision, you have to let me know.
Right.
And I thought this episode did a great job conveying both sides of how no one's really right, no one's really wrong. It's just kind of a frustrating situation to be in for both parties.
Yeah. I'm very big on just, right, let's make a decision. Let's just go, otherwise we're wasting time. So, like, I've got my best friend. Love him dearly. But he is the world's biggest Wembler. He cannot make a decision to save his life. And he has been like that. I've known him now for 22 years. He's been like that for 22 years. He and his wife, like, how he managed, I said this in my best man speech, the most impressive thing about their relationship is they managed to find someone as equally unable to make an opinion, like, unable to make a decision as each other. It's fascinating. I knew those two would be together forever. When they had first moved in together, I found out that if one of them has a bad day, the other one will decide what's for dinner, so that the person who's had a bad day does not have to make a decision. And I'm like, oh, that's codependent. But okay, fair enough. You guys do you.
Yeah, my partner and I do that for each other.
That is supporting each other with complementary strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, no, that's just acts of love language, or that's love language acts of service, but the service is executive dysfunction instead of like a physical chore.
There you go.
Yes, well, I'm single and miserable, so for me it's codependence.
You're so valid. You're allowed to be bitter and resentful. That is totes okay. We support you here.
Thank you, I appreciate it. It's a safe space.
Yeah, indeed. We stand all forms of boober here.
Growing up is realizing that you're boober.
Yeah.
Yup. He has a great line when Gobo and Wembley go in to try to get everybody else to come with them. He's like, I don't want to go. Just because you want to meet the Grim Reaper halfway doesn't mean I have to.
Yes.
This is the first episode where we see Large Marvin.
Yes.
Does Large Marvin get character growth in the future?
He does.
Or is he just a fat Fraggle?
For the moment, he's just a punchline, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah.
But he will get more character development later in the series.
Cool.
That's good. That's good. There was definitely a bunch of the way that he was characterized that made me notably uncomfortable.
Yep.
And did not age well. I was curious, does it count as like, oh hey, but there's also some positivity, because it's like, oh no, he can make the biggest splash. Like, he wins because he can make the biggest splash.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I've seen some good body reframes as like, oh yeah, no, people might shame somebody for thick thighs, but they can't fit as many kittens on their lap as I can.
That is a good way to frame it, and it seems like it's going that direction, but Red is
not great about it.
Yeah, she's not happy about it. It's like, oh, if Large Marvin is going to compete, then automatically he's going to win. Grumble, grumble.
Yeah. I had the same thought of like, well, it's kind of cool that, you know, he's framed as the fattest Fraggle, but like he's also really great at this thing that they're doing. But yeah, it's not handled quite, you know, as well as it could be.
They're probably ahead of the curve for when it aired, but like they're behind the curve at this point.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, because he's in Back to the Rock as well.
He's in Back to the Rock.
And granted, I haven't watched that since it was released, so I don't remember too much of what it is. But is there a joke, obviously, about his sort of weight or anything like that?
Nope.
Or is it mentioned in the new series?
Nope. I don't even remember if he's even referred to as Large Marvin or if he's just Marvin.
Apparently he has a featured role, just Marvin. So the puppet definitely is, like, he looks skinnier. The puppet sort of, he looks like he's lost weight.
Yeah, and he's still got a bit of the dim-witted thing going on.
Yeah.
But his weight is definitely not used as a punchline at Back to the Rock.
Okay, cool. Yeah, great.
Excellent. And then, of course, they put it to a vote, and of course it comes down to Wembley. And there's this really interesting sort of beat where he kind of swings one way and then immediately swings back the other way and commits to that.
Mm-hmm.
And Gobo gets real mad. And we get to see another character trait of Moki's that we haven't seen her work on yet, which is she's so bad at reassuring and comforting people. Oh my god.
Yup. Oh god, what is the exact line? I've got it written down somewhere.
It's, don't feel bad. You didn't lose. You just came in second.
Yes.
Which, Jared, if you are the most frustrated by people who cannot make a decision to save their life, I'm so frustrated by people who are not good at just, like it's not hard. Just be like, yo, it didn't, this didn't go the way you wanted it to, and that really sucks, and your frustration is valid. Let's get you some food and some water. It's not a complicated equation, and so many people are so bad at it.
Yeah. There's this heartbreaking moment where Gobo basically turns that personal disappointment into now a moral failing on Wembley's part.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I thought you were my friend, but you voted against me, and, I don't need your help anymore. In fact, I don't need you. And we get this, basically a friend breakup, which is the most heartbreaking thing.
Okay, hold on. I want to talk a little bit about this, because one, Gobo's being a jerk.
Yeah.
Gobo's being a huge jerk here, because here's the thing, Gobo. You made plans with Wembley to do this thing. You full on, this is the pre-existing agreement that you agreed to, and now you want to bail, and you're mad that the person you made the plans with doesn't want to also bail with you. That's not how this works. And they have a surprisingly, they don't play it for laughs, it's just them arguing at each other, and Wembley stands up for himself.
Yeah.
He, puts his foot down and is like, fine, if you don't need me, then I don't need you either. And you get to see it affects Gobo. It affects him significantly, and they both kind of walk off in a huff, and then as Gobo's walking out the door, Wembley goes, hey, Gobo? And Gobo says, yeah? And he says, good luck. And Gobo says, thanks. And that's just so very important.
Yeah.
You are allowed to express frustration at the people that you care about. Please do so kindly, and please also reiterate the care if you're expressing the frustration so that they don't worry that this is all there is.
Yeah.
You're such a teacher.
He can't turn it off.
He really is.
Yeah, I'm wasting in the coal
great.
mines, huh?
It's great.
Thank you.
I feel, this is like a free therapy session. It's wonderful.
I don't know. I like being able to pass on the stuff that I've learned because a lot of what I got was passed on to me. And sorry, I can just say thank you. I can just say thank you. I can accept a compliment. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're fired.
That was exactly what that beat needed. You were saying, Beth.
So I feel like the first half of this episode and the second half of this episode aren't quite clicking together in my brain yet, because in the first half of the episode it feels very interpersonal relationships and miscommunications, and when, people's different needs and communication styles clash with each other, and that's not easy to figure out, and what happens when that goes wrong. And then it shifts, pretty much the rest of the episode is all about fear, and I was like, what the heck? How are these two things connected? And maybe this is a better conversation that we can move to the end, but I think there's a thread there that I want to keep following.
I agree. So we got back to Sprocket, to Doc and Sprocket, and Doc is going to take Sprocket to the vet.
Wait, hold on. I think you might be skipping the song?
There's a song.
Oh, yeah. I didn't get much out of that song, so I didn't write down much about it.
Oh,
Sorry.
I love this song.
Before the song, Wembley has a great line that says, maybe Gobo's right, maybe I wimble too much, but only about the important things, which is just very funny to me. He's by himself. It's the first night that he's ever been alone in their cave, and he's kind of scared in this moment, so I guess that's the first thread of the fear that's going to come up in the rest of the episode. And then he sings the song Brave Alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, this song was fine. It didn't. I mean, I don't remember anything about it, and I just watched this episode in the last 30 minutes, so it didn't stick with me as much as the other songs in this episode, but it was fine.
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing about this episode as well. I watched it and thought to myself, how have I never seen this episode before? And then it wasn't until the end that I was like, oh, obviously I've seen this episode before. It just, the whole thing seemed a little forgettable. Like you said, like I watched this last night. I couldn't tell you a lot about the song or the song that's coming up shortly. And I wonder if that's because, again, we'll get to this song later on, but I wonder if it's because it's been overshadowed by what is arguably one of the most famous Fraggle Rock songs.
Oh yeah, the song at the end slaps.
Yeah.
The song at the end was amazing.
Yeah.
I got some notes on that one. I've having seen almost all of season 1 now, I'm noting that there's like a wide variety of like genre combinations and experiments, and then there's also it seems to be a genre of song that is just one Fraggle processing, singing, and it would be way easier to distinguish them, but they all have very similar melodies and meters. And so it all does kind of blend together for me on that one. It's kind of like the Moki's Why Do I Ask Why has almost exactly the same melody and a very, very similar meter. And there's a few other ones that I have just not felt the need to write anything down. This one I have the one note, which is just that he writes, he has 3 lines and it talks about how something in this room is scary. All these things come out to stare at me. And I know that they're all imaginary. And like, that's some solid rhyme scheming. I appreciate that. That's well put together.
I mean, this episode hit hard for me in terms of timing, because this is my first time living alone. And I recently came out of a medium to bad depressive episode. And doing that while living alone is real interesting. And so, to me, it spoke of, like, especially the line, I know they're just imaginary. Like, the things going on in my head are imaginary, but that doesn't make them any less scary.
Yeah. I do think it's interesting to note that they have such a communal sleeping arrangement that this is the first time he slept alone in a room. And, like, that's how mammals prefer to do things most of the time. That's definitely how humans evolved to do things. And there's a reason that, like, being able to sleep in an apartment and hearing the, like, gentle movements of your neighbors around you helps you fall asleep. I say gentle. Neighbors aren't always gentle. Sometimes the upstairs neighbors decide to drop every block and piece of furniture. But, like, we evolved to be comforted by the presence of other people of our species. That's why kids have sleepovers.
Yep.
Which you can have sleepovers as a grown-up, too. They're great. Highly recommend. Anyways, so Sprocket is trying to prove that he is not sick, and he starts jumping up and down, and then he starts doing a little fancy dance number, which I thought was very cute, and then he just starts growling at Doc.
And, like, doing some karate almost. He's got his, like, hands up as if he's going to chop Doc if he comes close to him.
Oh, I missed that completely.
It's the
I just
very
got the
end
growling.
of that bit.
And I was like, oh, this is the first time I've seen Sprocket be, like, a little scary. It's the first time I've seen an aggressive bone in this dog's body.
Well, I just like it when, like, an anthropomorphized, I guess, character, like animal character, actually acts like that character. Like, it's the same as, you know, something like Family Guy, when Brian actually acts like a dog. It's like, oh no, you are a dog. And it's the same with Sprocket. Like, here he actually, you know, he's doesn't act like a dog most of the time. He's just a person who barks. But no, sometimes he's an actual dog.
Yeah.
And you have to remember, no, that's an actual dog. You know, that was a good little moment, especially after it's come from him, you know, doing like a little tango with a rose in his mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, did anybody else get a little flashback to that one scene in The Mask where he, like, comes out to all the cops and they're all there and he just immediately starts doing a dance performance?
Doing that beautiful salsa number.
Oh, yeah. I have a little note here. This comes into my brain every time I meet a dog that's like 70 pounds or bigger. I don't mind dogs. I think they're fine. But whenever there's a dog of a decent enough mass, some part of my brain is always just on a loop going, I'm so glad we evolved you to love me because you could kill me with very little effort.
Oh, Adam, I'm currently watching a dog that when he stands up, he's more than half my height.
Oh, boy.
He's sleeping. I'm worried he's, like, going to start barking at some point because he loves barking at the window, but his name is Finn. He kind of looks a little bit like Sprocket. He's got, like, the gray and the beard. He's like some kind of very tall mix with a poodle. But Yeah, I did find it interesting that, like, we have Sprocket doing, like, the little flamenco dance and jumping jacks, but it's when he starts growling. I mean, he is doing some karate moves, but, like, he starts acting more aggressive. That's when Doc, like, starts, like, taking him more seriously. Like, Sprocket, I've never seen you like this before.
Yeah.
When he kind of reverts more to being an animal, because that is what Sprocket is.
A word on that. So I have a friend who recently talked about a moment when, they went to go pet their dog, and the dog gave out like just a little growl, like a little warning growl, because they had not been paying attention to the dog's previous signals. That was like, I don't want to be touched in that particular way right now. And because they weren't paying attention, then the dog was like, no, here's this boundary I'm drawing. And it was because they have that excellent relationship with their dog that they were like, oh, okay, thank you for telling me. I'll give you the space you need. And I have a friend who knows a ton about dogs and basically blew my mind when she was telling me that, I was like, oh, I love big dogs. I don't love little dogs. And she was like, I hear that a lot. Lots of people don't like little dogs. What they actually don't like is little dog owners. Because with a big dog, unless you're a very big person, you can't just like heft up their whole bodies and do whatever you want with them. But people do that to little dogs all the time. They just like pick them up when they're not expecting it. They do whatever they want, force hold to trim their nails. And so a lot of little dogs will basically internalize, well, I have no bodily autonomy. And so when someone crosses those boundaries, I'm going to get snippy about it. I'm going to yap and bark because my voice and my teeth are the only thing I have left. And it just clicked so much for me that like, oh, I've never seen you like this before, Sprocket. Yeah, dude, because you're not paying close enough attention to your dog, and you're kind of trampling on his boundaries and autonomy a lot of the time.
Also, are we to believe this is the first time Doc has ever had to take Sprocket to the vet? I'm sure.
Right. Good point.
I'm sure that there must have been a similar. Maybe Sprocket has like learned to be afraid of the vet as an older dog, but this has to have happened before.
Yeah, but Doc's not the best dog owner, though, is he?
No, this has been a reoccurring subject. Doc.
Yeah. Also, you say this dog could have killed you, like if it didn't grow to love you. That's a big dog. Yeah, you should meet my cat. My cat would destroy us all if he had if he had opposable thumbs. He would have taken over the world by now.
See, I speak cat. I understand cat. Cat as a body language makes perfect sense to me. Dog as a body language is one I'm still trying to wrap my head around.
Dog is all I know. That's my entire life, is just being around dogs. Cats too. I went and saw a cat earlier, but dogs. Here's the thing: cats, I feel like maybe some, but a lot of them don't give you that warning. They're like, "Oh, pet me," and then suddenly they'll just swat at you. They'll make that.
100% give you that warning.
I don't know if they do. Dogs, however,
watch the tail.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Dogs, they will give you that growl. They will walk away. Like, it's very rare for a dog to suddenly like feel like they make that flip decision. There are a lot of little cues from dogs.
It's fascinating, actually, because I was reading an article about this a while ago that was talking about one of the reasons that there's such a big divide in cat and dog owner things is because cat body language and dog body language has a lot of overlap in signal, like the specific signal, but a lot of like the opposite of what those signals mean. So I'm saying that horribly. Let me try that again. There's a lot of the same words in cat and dog body language, but they mean oftentimes the opposite of things.
Sure, like a wagging tail.
Like if a dog lies down and shows you its belly, that's a dog being like, yo, rub my belly, dude, get in here. And if a cat lies down and shows you its belly, that's not the cat saying, rub my belly. That's the cat saying, hey, I feel safe around you.
Right.
Sure, or like a cat wagging its tail is usually not a sign of it being happy, right?
Yeah. And like that does get a little messy when sometimes you have cats that grow up around dogs or dogs that grow up around cats. But like I've had people be like, oh yeah, well I was petting my cat and then it bit me. And I'm like, okay, did it bite you and then scratch you a bunch? And then they're like, no, it just bit me and got off my lap. And I'm like, okay, that's the cat setting a boundary.
Yep.
Bit you one time to be like, hey, I need you to stop. And that's because you weren't looking at its tail and you weren't looking at its ears.
Mm-hmm.
If the tail goes the difference from like just the tip moving around to slightly more of it moving around, that means, hey, I'm going from interested to annoyed. Please chill.
Yeah, no, I used to see that signal in the cat that I used to have with her if her pupils would dilate, it was like, oh, she's going into predator mode. I'm going to stop touching her now.
Yep.
And that's been pet talk.
Yeah.
You just put like the more you know sound just there, and there we go.
That's so much of every episode of this podcast is us rambling off topic.
Thank you for getting us back on track.
Back to the episode. We get Boober coming into Wembley and Gobo's room, kind of giving him a hard time about how messy the room is now. And this is when Wembley realizes that Gobo forgot the pickaxe on his way to the Beast of Blue Rock. And he realizes that Gobo really needs it.
And oddly enough, then he goes to see the trash heap about it?
Yeah, I thought that was weird too.
We also just start with him at the trash heap talking to the trash heap. There's no, like, travel thing. They're just like, boom, Wembley at the trash heap.
Or even him just telling Boober, I gotta go ask Marjorie what to do. He's just suddenly there talking to the trash heap.
Yep.
And then, first Marjorie's telling Wembley that, he shouldn't sweat it, that Gobo will be fine and he'll improvise. But then once Wembley's like, oh, but he's going to Blue Rock, then Marjorie starts taking it very seriously. She also calls Wembley a little fraglet, Fragglette, which I don't think we've ever heard from her before, which I thought was very sweet. Cute little nickname for the Fraggles.
Yeah.
Anybody else get weird vibes from the camera angle choices they had here?
Yeah, the shot of Wembley with Philo and Gunge, because that's green screen.
Yeah,
it's a weird little choice. I don't think they ever do that again.
I didn't think so either. I thought they had an actual set for Marjorie.
I mean,
that area.
Mostly yes.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't use it.
So my hypothesis is that the only reason that Philo and Gunge are sitting on a branch above Wembley's head is because when the song starts, they needed a limbo pole, and so they used the branch.
That does make sense.
Oh, so it's a green screen because they're like up high, and so the puppeteers need to be in the green motion capture outfits. Okay, I see.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
And when they're going under it as a limbo pole in a totally different angle, that seems real.
Yeah. Okay. I think that makes a lot of sense. I couldn't figure it out in the moment.
This is another one of Marjorie's songs that's like not the best advice, because she's like, if you're scared, just jump and then turn around and do a little dance. And, like, that's not bad for confidence, but not great for I mean, maybe decent for predators because you're kind of making yourself bigger and you're doing a startling movement, but, like...
Well, think about what Marjorie knows about Blue Rock.
Fair.
Like, spoiler alert, for the end of the episode, she knows that there's no beast there that's actually going to hurt them. She knows that what Wembley needs to face is fear. And so... if it's just, like, psyching himself up, like doing power moves, or like you've talked about, your friend who would, like, run up a flight of stairs when he was having an anxiety attack, that's what it feels like to me.
Fair. So Wembley's gonna just go track down Gobo and give him his pickaxe. And then we cut back to him telling everybody as Large Marvin, is it? Is doing, and there's a shot here that I want to talk about, because it starts off with are like the main four in the foreground, and we get to see Marvin fall into the water in the background, and then it cuts immediately to Marvin surfacing with splash water still in the air. So you get this really immediate feeling of like, no, yes, this puppet fell off and created this splash, and there's almost like your brain fills in that little bit of the puppet in the air, even though this is two completely different shots. Also, that's the puppet in the water. Does anyone know how they did that? Because all I got is, like, snorkeling.
Yeah, I think John Tartaglia posted, because they did it a lot. They did it a lot in Back to the Rock. Basically, it's almost like a shallow, like, fiberglass pool with gloves, like big, thick rubber gloves that have been, I guess, attached so they could get their hands up and through, and then the puppet just sits on top. But apparently they can get really, really heavy because they're just foam puppets that are just soaking in all this water. So if they do it too long, it can just get really, really heavy. Apparently it's awful on your arms.
So kind of like the thing that they have so you can, like, touch a baby that's being incubated, but
I believe so, yes. That's probably a good way of...
on the ground?
Yeah. I believe so. And then there are also shots in Back to the Rock where it's literally just someone sitting out of frame with their hands sort of up like this, just sitting in the water.
But yeah, that's how we learned that Fraggles can go in the dryer when they need to.
Anything can go in the dryer at least once. So we get some shots of Wembley going to the cave, and there's a really great creepy little bug thing, and then there's just this awesome face mole gnome thing, and I love them both to bits. They make me very happy, and also just like filling out the weird fauna ecosystem of this cave system is just always makes me very happy.
So I finally found the bit in the tome where
The tome.
The tome.
where it talks about what these creatures are called.
Excellent.
It says the caves and tunnels also needed to be chock full of unique flora and fauna, props and creatures fabricated in the Toronto workshop. There were blooming flowers and bizarre killer plants, along with little critters and bugs that were seen crawling down the rock walls or flying above the characters. Known as extra beings by the puppet builders, these creatures were further broken down into categories such as extraordinary flyers, fuzzy runners, and creepy sillies.
Wow.
That was my nickname in high school.
Oh, and I love this bit. A lot of the techniques that went into making the Fraggle Rock set seem more three-dimensional and fully populated, including the remote control puppets, originated with the Dark Crystal. Frith jokes, I've always thought of the Dark Crystal as like a $25 million research and development program for Fraggle Rock.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And my friends and I just rewatched the Dark Crystal recently, and I was like, I just learned this thing, and all of the little background critters feel very Fraggle Rockish.
Nice.
That is like my favorite thing about the Dark Crystal is like the world building and all like, yeah, the creatures that we get to see.
100%.
It's better than the story.
It's
in
better
that
than
movie.
the story.
Can I say something shocking?
Mm-hmm.
Do it.
I've never seen it.
The movie?
Oh.
I've never seen the Dark
Oh,
Crystal.
hot take. You're
Jared,
besides
I haven't
visually,
either. It's okay.
besides visually, you're not missing a ton.
That's what I figured. I saw Labyrinth. That was the better version of the cool little puppets and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought that'll do.
Just like put it on and mute it and put on some nice music and have it on in the
Exactly.
background. And you'll
Exactly.
get just as much. The Netflix series, phenomenal. Would recommend that 100%.
I've watched 2 episodes of that, and then I was like, yeah, I get it.
That's fair. I like the Netflix series a lot. Movie, really nice to look at.
Yeah.
But yes, Wembley is going down the tunnels and suddenly...
So, can I just,
Yes.
real quick, I had one more thing.
Yes.
That, always having, like, plants and animals in the background always reminds me of, there was somebody talking about, like, how you can tell a really good comic book illustrator from a really cheap one. And it's, you look at the surfaces in whatever room people are in. You look at the surface of the desk, you look at the shelves, you look at the windowsills. Because cheap comic book illustrators will never put anything on them.
Mm.
And comic book illustrators who know what they're doing will always use that as an opportunity for character development and scene development and setting development.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just one of those that's like, oh, I love having something to, like, be able to, like, a metric. And so adding, okay, what's the flora and fauna like to the metric here of, well, if it's a world building, what is the flora and fauna like?
Yeah. All of my favorite children's books as a kid were ones with really intricate illustrations that I could just visually zoom in on and look at all of the wonderful details going on.
Excellent.
There's a book called Animalia.
That sounds
And
familiar.
it might be an Australian book. I think that I know Graham Bass, who wrote it, I believe is an Aussie. And the whole book is just designed for you to like really like deeply look into the background. And every time I reckon I've looked at that book, I'd say 150 times over my 34 years. And every single time I've seen something I haven't seen before.
Oh.
Nice.
Just the further you get in the background, it just tiny little things. It's wonderful. I highly recommend seeking it out if you can.
Excellent.
Right. Thanks for the recommendation. Anyways, Julia, you were getting us back on track with the actual episode.
Oh, I was just going to say that, yeah, so as you said, Wembley's going down the cave. He's trying to remember the song that Marjorie sang, and then suddenly all of his friends are there.
Yeah.
And they've joined him. But as we're going to learn, they're not going to be with him for very long because there's this ancient doozer construction, which I think Wembley's like going to go get them lunch, he says, or like a snack.
Yeah.
And he's sitting over a big cavern on an ancient doozer construction, and it starts breaking. And this is the part where we get a puppet being yeeted, right?
Yeah.
Which I appreciate that they added a new flavor of that. It's Yeet the Puppet, parentheses, serious.
Very serious.
Right. Yeah, before it's always been very silly.
There's some good puppetry in this part of, like, it starting to break and Wembley, like, trying to crawl back to his friends, but then being tossed to the other side of the cavern.
It's cool. So, well, I mean, when he's originally on that Doozer construction, he's green screened in. But the actual Doozer thing is really there, and it's shaking, like, in time with when Wembley's sort of doing his thing. So that's just a great little bit of, like, teamwork, I guess, between the effects and the, like, someone literally shaking that Doozer construction.
Yeah.
And then we were talking, I think it might have been in the Tough Pigs Discord recently, we were talking about, you know, how back in the day they used to just grab, you know, a puppet, staple it to something and, like, swing it around. I think we'll talk about Miss Piggy, like, back in the day. They do that here as well. Like, the Wembley that's getting yeeted is just either a poser puppet or whatever it might be, and they just basically chuck it. Whereas, you know, nowadays, would that be a whole green screened thing of, you know, of, like, with all these visual effects? Or would they literally just now, I would hope that they would just, again, staple a puppet and, you know, throw it across the room.
Practical effects are wonderful.
If it works, it works. There's a tiny moment that I want to pay attention to when Wembley's friends come to find him, and Wembley's like, "You mean you're going to help? But you'll miss the splashathon." And Red says, "Well, you're more important, Wembley." And we get this tiny little, "I am?" Oh, buddy. One of these days you will learn that, yes, your friends love you.
That was really nice to have it said directly.
Yeah. But then, of course, Boober comes in with the comic relief of, "We couldn't let you be all by yourself when you get eaten alive."
Just hold your friend's hand for as long as it's attached to the rest of their carcass.
That's words to live by.
Something that I've not noticed in previous watchings is that when Wembley is sitting on the Doozer construction that's, like, over this chasm, and his friends are noticing, like, "Oh no, this looks like a dangerous situation, get Wembley to safety," Boober says, "Jump up." Moki says, "Cross over." Red says, "Turn around."
Yeah.
Aww.
So they relay the exact same instructions from the song that Marjorie gave him.
Yeah, I caught that, and in my mind, I was like, oh, I guess that's the entire point of Marjorie's song, is ultimately he's given those words in a moment where he's in danger, and how he's able to continue.
Nice. So he finally catches up with Gobo, and Gobo's like, "Oh man, I can't do this because I don't have my pickaxe. Can't open this blue crystal." And Wembley's like, "Nah, I brought your pickaxe." And Gobo's like, "Oh, I'm still not going to do it, actually." And they have a really good conversation where Wembley finally is like, "Yo, like, why?" And Gobo's like, "Well, I'm scared." He just says it. He says it out loud, which is great.
Yeah. Oh, we missed a little bit of the workshop.
Oh, go for it.
There's another little scene in the workshop where, you know, Doc is asking, you know, what is wrong? And he finally figures out, like, okay, you don't want me to take you to the vet, but why? You know, you're sick. And then he just leans in real close and goes, "Sprocket, are you afraid?" And Sprocket nods, and it's interesting the way that Doc reacts to that, because, you know, he gives him a hug and he's like, "Oh, Sprocky, there." Like, yes, he's comforting him, but then he goes immediately into, "Sprocket, you know you've got to learn to face up to your fears. You'll be a better dog for it." And I was like, oh, this feels like in the Calvin and Hobbes comics, whenever Calvin's dad is like, "Do this thing that you hate because it builds character."
Kind of, except in this circumstance, Sprocket is sick, and he will be better for facing this one particular fear.
Yes.
And I think it still comes to me for the fact that we've just seen Doc continually be not a great dog owner, and this episode, it really feels like he is trying, and he does genuinely have Sprocket's best interest in heart. So is he approaching it the best he could? No, but again, we're still in season 1. There's so much more room for growth for Doc. And I thought this was a genuinely, like, sweet moment when we see him, like, lean in, and it gets, like, a lot quieter when he asks Sprocket if he's afraid. And,
yeah,
you know, this is, you know, as we've said, this is a show for children, and I think it's kids are afraid to go to I was a child that was terrified to go to the doctor. I was afraid of shots. I would cry and scream when I knew it was, like, that time. And so I think keeping that in mind, like, that's maybe what is trying to be communicated to the viewers of this show, being perhaps small humans, like, hey, it is really natural to, when you are sick, to be afraid to go to the doctor. You don't know what's going to happen, if they're going to give you medicine or shots. But this fear is one that will better you if you face it and you have a parent or a guardian with you to help you along the way. So
yeah. And Doc does end with, "And I'll be there with you."
Yeah,
that part's nice.
It's but I think it's a way for them to have sort of like almost have their cake and eat it too a little bit, because they have the whole thing of, you know, Doc saying, you know, but you got to face your fears, you'll be better off for it. Whereas then if you go back to the Gobo Wembley storyline, they're like, you don't have to do it if you're scared, don't worry about it. And so, like, you're getting 2 life lessons in that little couple of minutes. So I wonder if that was them going like, what's the lesson here? Do we face our fears? Do we not face our fears? Let's do both. And in 40 years' time, 4 people can debate this on a podcast.
Definitely.
They absolutely planned for that.
I do think it is interesting to me that, like, when the one who winds up facing their fears, they're doing it because they need to do it for their own health. Whereas the one who decides not to, it's like an extracurricular activity that they finally just sort of are like, this actually is a little scary and maybe we won't do it.
Yeah.
Could be some way of being like, hey, like, for health things and for things that are really important, yeah, you gotta face your fears. But you don't always have to if it's not something where, like, your health is on the line.
Right.
Depends what the stakes are.
Well, also, like, Gobo and Wembley are under the belief at this point that they could die if they face the quote-unquote beast. And so, you know, them wimbling on this subject makes a lot more sense of, like, this is something that maybe actually wouldn't benefit us. But there is the sweet moment of, like, Gobo being like, I'm the one that's wimbling now. And then they decide to start wimbling together, which then leads into... yes, one of the most well-known Fraggle Rock songs, which I didn't know was going to be in this episode. And it was a joy to re-experience it.
Oh my god, the harmonies, the horn section. There was horns in this one. They were like, let's write a bop of a country ballad and then throw some horns in it. I love it when they genre bend. They're very genre fluid.
I heard the song and I thought to myself, why doesn't this sound right? This doesn't sound like I remember it. And then I realized, I think the time I've seen this the most is, like, when they sang it at Jim Henson's funeral.
Oh.
And, like, they screw up the lyrics at one point and they sort of have a laugh with each other. And I was like, why aren't I hearing that? And then I was like, that's why. Because it's when Jerry and Steve sang it at the service. And I think, in my mind, that's the more popular version, because that's the one I think I've seen the most.
That's the one that I've seen the most, too, and what I usually think of when I think of this song.
Wow. See, I think I've only seen that version, like, once, and I forgot that it existed, so now I'm going to have to go back and rewatch it.
I mean, just that whole 10 minutes where they sing all the songs is one of the most joyous things I think the Muppets have ever done.
It's so joyous, and then by the end I'm in tears, and so I can't watch it all that often.
Yeah.
But yeah, the song was also covered on Fraggle Rock Rock On, which I don't think we've talked about yet on this podcast. I would love to do a bonus episode someday, but Rock On was basically a series of short little, they called them mini-sodes, that were released in April and May of 2020, filmed entirely in the puppeteers' homes.
Ooh.
And it was just this wonderful little bite-sized experience of, oh my god, the Fraggles are back in our lives. And they're, you know, talking to Traveling Matt, and he's making note about how, I'm not seeing a lot of silly creatures outside like I used to.
Oh, no.
And they talk about, like, you know, like, fears and taking care of each other and all of this extremely relevant 2020 stuff. And when the last episode aired, we got the announcement that, hey, we're getting a full-on reboot.
Hey.
At that point, it'd become clear that this little taste that Rock On gave us was so successful and so needed that they basically got the green light to say, yes, let's do this for real.
Nice.
Yeah.
And if you remember, it sort of came out of nowhere. I don't remember hearing any sort of announcement of it. Just all of a sudden, I woke up one day and there were brand new Fraggles.
Before that, the last we had heard from the Fraggles was in 2012 when they were in the Ben Folds music video for Do It Anyway, which is amazing. And then, you know, prior to that, Fraggles weren't doing anything for a couple of decades.
Well, there was always talk of, we're going to do a Fraggle Rock movie, and then the Fraggles are going to do this. And, you know, granted, anytime the Jim Henson Company announced anything, I go, all right, I'll believe it when I see it.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was the first time it's like, oh, crap, like the Fraggles are actually back.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't see that coming at all. And the fact that it came out of absolutely nowhere was, it was a good little thing of like, oh, we needed this, because that was right at the start of the pandemic as well. That was within the first couple of months when everyone was locked down.
Mm-hmm.
That was like a little, oh, okay, look, our friends are back.
Yep.
Let's get through this.
Are those on Apple?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't have Apple when they aired, so I knew that they had come out, but I wasn't able to watch them, and then I also forgot about them by the time I got Apple, which was mostly to watch the new Fraggle Rock show.
Yep.
But yeah, we should do some maybe like a one-off episode on those, and then I'll watch them for the first time.
Yeah.
Rad. So Gobo's like, I don't want to do it. And I'm just like, well, we came all this way. And he takes the pickaxe and slams it into this blue crystal and then starts levitating,
Yeah.
which was cool and good puppeteering. And they get transported to this kind of strange otherworldly sort of pocket dimension.
Are they in Marjorie's mind?
There's no knowing exactly where they are or what is going on. It's unclear.
Yeah.
They just get sucked through this big blue crystal-looking thing, and then they're somewhere. They say, we're inside, but then they don't clarify. Inside what? Are they inside a giant rock? Are they inside Marjorie's mind? Are they just inside a cave that was on the other side of a flat rock? What's going on?
They're inside of a Waffle House.
They're also talking to Marjorie, but they don't seem to... It feels like they don't realize that they're talking to Marjorie. I don't know. It's such a weird segment of not knowing where they are and what's going on, and...
Yet no one makes any acknowledgement of like, the trash heap is here and talking to us.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Like, oh, Marjorie, where are we? What's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she reveals to them that there is no actual beast. The beast was their fear, and that they've conquered the beast because they conquered their fear.
So that beat has been kind of done to death by a lot of kids' shows. But Wembley has a line that I have never heard ever.
I think I know which one.
He says, if fear was the beast, then he'll be back.
Yup.
And like, wow. Yes, let's acknowledge that conquering your fears is not just a one and done thing. It's a series of reoccurring conversations with yourself. Like, yeah, thank you for that. And it's like, yeah, no, we got over it together. So when it comes back, we'll get over it together.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just, oh, you got over your fears. It's, hey, getting over your fears takes time and it's a process. And here's a tool for doing it because you can rely on people.
Well, yeah, and Wembley says we couldn't have done it without each other. I bet that's why we made it. And then I thought, aha, and that's why the others didn't make it. Because the other previous explorers, presumably, went alone.
Like I said, a free therapy session. This has been wonderful.
Oh, I haven't even started. Okay, so continuing the thread that I was talking about earlier about, like, the first chunk of the episode being about, like, you know, interpersonal dynamics and miscommunications and all of that, and then now everything else being about fear. As a Wembler, you get crap for that from people who aren't. That's understandable. It's frustrating to be around someone who's incapable of making decisions. And then slowly I realized, wait a minute, this hasn't always been a part of me. Like, I asked my brother, like, do you remember me being indecisive as a child? And he was like, no. You knew exactly who you were and what you wanted, and you were quite vocal about that. And it took me decades to realize that my Wembling is based in fear.
Mm-hmm.
And that's as personal as I'm going to get about it. But that kind of connected the episode for me because I don't think we get that connection with Wembley, at least not yet. Like, I don't think we know what his Wembling is based in, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was fear-based.
That wouldn't surprise me either.
So that's interesting, because I think my decisiveness is based in fear.
Interesting.
Ooh, say more.
It's a fear of wasting time. It's a fear of... I probably too much fixate on, like, my death, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's something I think about constantly. It's something I've thought about a lot more in the last 6 months since my father passed away.
That'll do it.
There's something I think of, and especially the fact that my father passed away extremely suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that all of this could go away tomorrow. So I think my fear is that I'm going to waste time. My fear is that I'm not going to get everything I want to get done before I can't do it anymore. And so that's why I'm like, I can't spend, however many, it's different if it's something that's going to take, half an hour to sort of wemble over. But, I have friends who will spend weeks or months wembling over something. I also love the fact we're using the word wembling just as a verb now.
That's what it means now.
We know what it means.
We know what it means. I haven't got time for that because I'm like, I could get so much more done in my life if I just make the decision. It might not even be the right decision, but I've done it, okay, and I'll deal with those repercussions later on.
Yeah, I do have a similar thing in my brain that is sort of like the failsafe if I can't decide a thing. If I'm like planning a night of downtime and I can't figure out what video game to play, my brain is like, all right, well, tell you what, try one. And if you don't like that one, we can bounce around. But we will have way more fun playing a video game, even if it's not the perfect one, than we will spending the entire evening trying to figure out what game to play.
That's a good strategy.
If I really can't make a decision, I almost take the advice of Rolf from, I think it's the last episode of the 2015 Muppet series. I flip a coin. And I remember Rolf saying in that, going, you'll know what the decision is at the end. Like, if I flip a coin and it's not what I wanted to do, I will go, that's not what I want. I actually want the other thing. And I'll go with that. So that's my fail-safe. That's my way of, like, making the decision if I really can't. Coin flip, and then I don't have to abide by the answer, but I'll generally have a better idea of what the answer is afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives you an external decision to either agree with or disagree with.
Correct.
Yes.
Which I don't know why that makes it easier, but it does.
I have used a D20 when I've got like a list of things that I've got to get done, and
Exactly.
if it lands on something where I'm like, oh, but I didn't want to do that one, then I'm like, oh, but this is what I actually want to do and which I should be doing. So I get that. Yeah.
And there was a bit earlier that I don't think they connected this quite as strongly as they could have, but I think we're also seeing where Gobo's fear comes from, because after the song, he immediately goes into apologizing. He says, I'm sorry, I've let you down, I've let Uncle Matt down, I'm a failure.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
That really tracks with Gobo's character, especially like I can't keep track of when we've seen all these episodes now, but the one where like he has to go out, he thinks he has to go to outer space to find Matt, and like that's another episode we've watched where there's a lot of fear to it, and he doesn't know if he actually like wants to go out there, but like he doesn't want to let everybody down. So this is something we've seen from Gobo before, where he, whether or not he's actually the leader of the group, he takes on that role. He takes it upon himself a number of times. And when you get into that position with your friends or in a community, speaking as somebody who does a lot of community events organizing, like that's a large part of my anxiety and my stress is I just don't want to let the people down that I'm working for and like working with in community, because I put myself in this place of leadership. And so that, like, when he was just like, I just don't want to be a failure for everybody, I was like, this is the first time I feel like I really relate to you, Gobo. I totally understand where you're coming from. Yeah. But they do it together.
Well, and that's the thing, is they each lean on each other for a reassurance that they get, because what they need is to be able to pop out of the internal mental cycle of their own fear. They externalize it, and then once you externalize it, then you can start to process it, which I think is also why the coin thing works.
Yep.
Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Yep. I also find if I can acknowledge my fear of something or my reluctance to do something, whatever it is, I can immediately just go, I just got to get this done. That's how I talk myself into it. I'll literally go, I don't want to do this, and then I'll do it. It's just my last little ditch effort of, I'm acknowledging I don't want to do this, I'm validating my own feelings, but unfortunately I got to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or even just, naming the reason why something is hard to do or why you keep putting it off can, like, give you a lot of power in, like, facing that fear and anxiety of getting it done for whatever reason.
Yeah. I remember saying many, many years ago when my grandfather had passed away, we were at his funeral and we were about to walk in, and I said to my nan, are you ready? And she went, nah. And I said, me neither. Let's go.
Yep.
And we walked in, and she said afterwards, she said that really helped her walk through those doors, and sit through that. She said because it was like, cool, none of us are ready for this, but we just got to, back to Ben Bolt, got to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think there's a really nice parallel with Red's journey in terms of when she can admit that she's scared. Because in Marooned, we saw her, very privately admit this to Boober when they were having a moment of shared fear. And then later in the garden plot, she was able to admit to Gobo that she was scared when he, granted he was unconscious at the time, said that he was scared. And she was like, oh, Gobo feels fear too. Duh, of course. And so there's this moment when Gobo finally admits that he's scared. That's the first time he's done that consciously that we've seen. And Wembley has this mind-blowing moment of, you? Scared? Like, his voice almost gets angry on the word scared because he's so shocked by this revelation. And so I'm hoping we're going to get more of that for Gobo. Like, maybe he's not yet ready to admit out loud to Red when he's scared, but I think he'll get there.
We have gotten a lot of episodes about fear. It feels like, especially since we came back from the hiatus in the middle of the first season, that's been a big topic that they've been tackling in the last, 8 or so episodes.
Last thing I want to touch in on before we hit to the very end of the episode is the Trashy teleports them back.
Yeah.
And there's just this really sweet little moment where Wembley kind of yells and Gobo goes, I got you, and just grabs him in a hug right before they poof. It was just really sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, they land in the water together and make a bigger splash, and then Red declares them the winner, which all feels a little rushed.
Yeah, okay. They splash back into the pond, and Moki and Red and Boober are there. So how long did they wait for Wembley to come back with Gobo before they gave up and went, they're probably fine. I'm sure by now
I
they've
hadn't caught that at
sung
all.
a friendship song and learned an important life lesson. Let's go on back.
Also, there's 2 of them making the splash together. Is that part of the rules? Because
right? Does that count?
Is it not just one-on-one? I know that they were a team, but
They registered it as a team.
Yeah.
Maybe everyone can register as a team except Large Marvin?
Because he's large. Oh no.
Okay. There is a puppetry moment that I noticed where obviously Dave is operating Large Marvin in this moment, and Boober has a line that just looks utterly wrong.
Yeah.
It's not synced up well, and the movement was all off. I was like, that's not Dave's puppetry style. And then I had this light bulb moment of, oh my gosh, I'm now starting to be able to recognize the different puppeteers' different puppetry styles. I remember back in my early days of the Tough Pigs forums, I would see people talk about that, and I'd go, wow, how do they know that? That was just a cool little moment for me.
Nice.
Awesome.
Just another little puppetry moment earlier in the episode. There's a bit where Wembley puts down a scarf, and obviously Steve Whitmire is thinking about putting that down because just for 3 words, Wembley's mouth doesn't move. Or it moves very, very slightly, and the lip sync's completely off.
Oh, I'm going to have to look out for that.
And then at the end of this episode, we get back to Doc and Sprocket, and Doc is carrying Sprocket into the house, which is so... Again, it's just very cute.
It's very sweet.
It's all wrapped up in a little blanket.
Yeah.
And it just ends on the note that Sprocket's gotta take his medicine, and Sprocket makes a face at the camera.
Womp womp.
Which we've all been there.
And Doc he continues his good streak saying oh, you were so brave and I'm so proud of you. And now it's time to take your medicine.
Yeah, he's gotta ease Sprocket into the medicine by giving him a lot of compliments and praise.
Yep. So quick note on the international versions. Muppet Wiki only mentions the UK version. It says the story is similar, but instead of going to see the vet, Miss Tibbs comes to the lighthouse on the mailboat to treat Sprocket, who pretends to be better already. The captain reminds him that the Merchant Navy has a tradition of recruiting brave animals as mascots, and that Sprocket is one of them.
Oh, that is kind of sweet.
Yeah.
Shall we talk about how to make the world a little fragglier? I mean, we don't have to.
I'm trying.
I want you to leave that whole pause in.
Last time I wrote mine out in advance and I was shorter on time today and I didn't do it.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm trying to debate if I want to do a serious one or a silly one.
Right?
I mean, I came up with a silly one, and I was waiting for people to do a serious one first so that the beat would hit, but I'll just go. Always keep a pickaxe with you. Always. Always. Everywhere you go. Doesn't matter where you're going. Pickaxe. You never know when you might need to break into a blue crystal.
Don't forget to move your mouth when you put down a scarf.
I mean, I feel like we've probably said this in previous episodes, but it is okay to tell your friends, your family, your community if you are feeling scared, you know? It is okay. You are valid in expressing those fears. And hopefully, if you have the right people around you, they will hold you and help you through it.
Different communication styles are valid, but it's also important to talk about those differences and differing needs with the people with whom you regularly communicate, so that those differences don't start to fester into resentment.
Awesome.
Yep.
Jared, thank you so much for being here. Do you want to tell people where they can find your stuff?
You can find me on toughpigs.com. You can find me on that awful cesspool that was formerly known as Twitter that, granted, I'll probably be off by the time you get to this point. I hate that place. You can find me. Just type my name in, and I'm the Australian one. There is a Jared Fairclough in North Carolina. I keep getting his quotes for lumber. That is genuinely true.
Wow.
Wow.
And he keeps getting all of your Fraggle Rock memorabilia.
That's probably true. They must hate me, because if you type my name into Google, it's just me for like the first 4 pages, and all the Tough Pigs and Muppet Mindset and all the interviews and everything like that. Dude probably really does not like me. That's why I'm getting his lumber quotes.
You can find me at Beth Anna Cook on a few different social media places, and occasionally writing stuff for toughpigs.com. I recently had my piece about Don't Eat the Pictures that I was pretty proud of.
That was a good piece.
Thank you.
You can find me at Geek Girl Grown Up, also on varying social media platforms, juliagaskill.com for poetry, and occasionally also on Tough Pigs.
You can find me at the bottom of a river with a scuba tank and a waterlogged Fraggle puppet experimenting with puppeteering techniques.
Reminder to check out toughpigs.com, give us a good review on your podcaster of choice, and thanks for listening. We will see you next time.
Don't forget to dance your cares away.
Down at Fraggle Talk. Bye.
Wow.
Fraggle Talk Classic is brought to you by toughpigs.com. Fraggle Talk art by Dave Hulteen Jr. The Fraggle Rock mark and logo, characters, and elements are trademarks of the Jim Henson Company. All rights reserved. The Fraggle Rock theme song, written by Philip Balsam and Dennis Lee, is used with permission. Special thanks to the Jim Henson Company and the entire Fraggle Rock family. For more from Tough Pigs, please find us at Tough Pigs on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, TeePublic, and Patreon. Fraggle Talk Classic is produced and edited by me, Beth Cook. Thank you to Joe Hennis, the Tough Pigs Muppet Fan Podcast executive producer. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time, down at Fraggle Talk.
Dude probably really does not like me. That's why I'm getting his lumber quotes.
Or maybe he's read every single thing you've written, and now he has a crush on you, and that's how he flirts because he's from North Carolina. Is with lumber quotes.
You heard it here, folks. If you are from North Carolina and you flirt with lumber quotes, drop us a line.
And if you're from North Carolina and you don't flirt with lumber quotes, I don't need to hear about it.
Don't add us.
I have my pre-existing notion of the world, and I don't need it to be challenged. It's fine.